I'm here with Rosemary McKenzie-Ferguson from Australia. I see in you a heroic protagonist. What I've read about you, everything is just blew me away. You speak about social justice, social equality for injured workers, and addressing the issues in the mainstream system. That workers' compensation does not discuss issues. That is huge. Back to you, Rosemary. You are a phenomenal lady. Heroic protagonist.
Thank you. As the late most beautiful Mother Teresa said, never see a wrong without doing what you can to right it. You just don't walk past. You stay and you right what needs to be righted.
Yes. And you have done that, but we're changing, literally changing the views of Workman's compensation. This is monumental.
It's a combination of determination, understanding what my own workplace injury put me through, what damage it did to my family and to my friends. Coming from a background of community service and understanding the power of community. There isn't anything stronger than a solid community. And knowing that if you can find that tiny little thread, you can weave the strongest of cables. And that's what I did. I went looking for what wasn't there. Then I found the way in, and I haven't left. I did everything that the workers' compensation system, and it doesn't matter whether it's here in Australia or whether it's anywhere in the world. I did what wasn't expected. I stayed because
I'm sorry. This is where you created Craig's Table. This is
where I started understanding that it wasn't just me, that there really is a system, a massive, massive system. And there are countless people, countless numbers of people, and not just the person with the workplace injury that's impacted, but their families and their friends are impacted by it. And even the employers, basically you can't go into anywhere and buy even a cup of coffee without assisting an employer to pay a workers' compensation or their work cover levy. That's what we call it here in Australia. Because out of the profit that the coffee shop makes from that one cup of coffee, they have to set aside money to pay their workers' compensation insurance. So once you understand really what you're looking at, I have to admit there was about 30 seconds of sheer terror, and you realise the size of the mountain that you are climbing. It's not by that stage. You're halfway up the mountain, so it's you're too far up to turn back, and the view from the top of the mountain is too enticing to not keep going. And then you find out really how much intestinal fortitude you've actually got, or as one of my children said, real stupidity. and you just keep going.
Yeah, sometimes it does feel like real stupidity, but you have
Well,
to keep on going. But what you've done,
I mean,
as I read,
the logical person, and I have many friends within the medical industry who are psychologists and psychiatrists, and the logic of what I took on makes no sense to anyone. That's
well,
when the Irish.
you took on a lot, not only preventing isolation, you studied on your own pivotal behavioral sciences, neuroscience, psychological science, bioplasticity, and researched on Stockholm Syndrome. Now, this really got me, which you found in some injured workers displayed a Stockholm Syndrome, and I agreed, but I had never seen that. And for people that do not understand what Stockholm Syndrome is, the hostage or the abused victim bond with their captors or abusers, which also translates into long-term injuries due to injured environment, adjusting to workman's comp programs, which isolates the individual. And of course, we have a great a person that went through Stockholm Syndrome, which was Patty Hearst. But you saw this in injured victims through work.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
I must admit, I'm a scribbler. I really am. I don't sleep well, and I scribble. So I'm probably the only person in the entire world who's got whiteboard markers on their bedside table and use their bedroom mirrors as whiteboards. So I was trying to get to sleep one night, and everything that I'd read during the last week to 10 days was just percolating away. And it just hit me. This is what it is. It's a form of Stockholm Syndrome. Why? Because we say yes. We say yes to things we have no understanding why we're saying yes to. We don't want to upset this person who we've never met, called a case manager. And we just say yes, we comply. And so in the middle of the night, I'm sitting there with my research material around me, my whiteboard marker and my laptop, and researching Stockholm Syndrome. And it was kind of like, this is what it is. This is why we say yes. We are isolated from everything that was pre-injury. Mind you, I've not actually put this to a panel of industry professionals or researchers or anything. So this is just my take on it.
This needs to come up. It's people such as yourself, an autodidact, who's gone through a severe injury and can see these particular problems. And it is a form of Stockholm Syndrome. Because people are isolated, they have to go along with a system that is not working.
Yes.
And I see this throughout the United States and obviously in Australia.
And when you look at it, you see these people who pre-injury were very strong, mentally, physically, emotionally, and ethically strong in everything that they did, and they're broken down, and they can't even look you in the eye, and you know that they're in there somewhere. And you just have to understand that you can reach them, but it has to be on their terms. You can't reach them any other way other than saying to them, I'm here. I'm not going away. I promise I will listen to you. Doesn't matter what time of the day and the night it is, I will listen to you. And you start to allow them to trust you. Everything has to be done on an allowing basis. But you have to come from that strength of knowing that they will be okay. I've actually seen the movie, the Patty, or the reenactment of Patty Hearst, and it was just like, you know, everyone who does know me knows that I have the strangest, weirdest way of working my way through things. But there isn't one challenge on this earth. There isn't one question that can be asked that doesn't have an answer. If you can frame the question, then you can find the answer. It really is that simple. Everyone tells me that, well, not everyone, the majority of people tell me that.
Most people educated.
Yeah, most they tell me that workers' compensation systems are complicated. And no, they're not. If anything, that is one of the biggest fallacies that you'll ever come across. Is this is a very simple system. It's been made complex by the way that it is managed or mismanaged, and it's given this air of, oh, don't go near there because you'll fall in and you'll never find a way out. Well, that's false as well, because I fell in and I found the way out. And now I'm just making that pathway a little bit wider and a little bit stronger and a little bit more interesting for other people. So.
Could you tell the audience a little more about your Craig's table and how you've been able to survive through the COVID? Because this is very important. Because you did a lot through Craig's table and then the COVID.
Craig's table came about out of sheer need. The mother of invention is it really is because there's a need in place. I needed to make sense of what happened to me, because I really could not reach back and help anybody else unless I understood the destruction that had gone on inside of me. And it's not a pretty journey. It really isn't. I lost family members. I lost friends. In fact, I don't have one single friend from my pre-injury life. That's how destructive this force is. I attempted suicide 3 times. It used to be very, very hard, and it still is hard for me to say it, but it's not as hard as it used to be. I have no memory at all of the first 2 attempts. The only reason I know that they were there is because I've read my file. And when I was strong enough, emotionally strong enough, and there is a difference between mental and emotional strengths.
Oh, it's huge. And
Yeah.
I advocate it a great deal. I write about it a great deal.
Yeah. Mentally, you can handle anything, but emotionally, it will cut you to shreds.
Yes.
So yeah, when I was mentally strong enough, emotionally strong enough, and a little bit of Irish ancestry, daring enough to ask the questions about the first 2 attempts, it didn't ease any of the pain because I still had no working memory of it. But the 3rd one, I have what I call smoke memories of that. because it seems very real, and then it's gone. But I told my family that I was just going to go and stay with my parents for a while. I knew that somewhere in me, I knew that I was breaking, and I kind of figured my parents would make the pot of tea, sit me down. We would talk about all the things that, you know, just the way we always had. And I remember the cruelest words of someone saying she can't visit her parents. You know, they're both dead. She can't go. And so, you've seen the videos of the ice bucket challenges. That cold was nothing compared to how cold it was when I suddenly realised in that split second that not only had my parents died, but if I went, I couldn't come back. And I guess in a way it turns you, it rips your heart out, it turns you around to make you realise that you're losing something. And you're not sure what it is that you're losing. But you know, it's now, well, that's now 25 years back, and it's still, I still can't find a solid image within my memory banks of it.
And I understand what you're saying. I truly do.
It's people misunderstand suicide. They think it's about
People
dying.
misunderstand suicide intention. They truly do. They do not understand this, and I try to educate them. Yeah. Please go on.
Yeah, it's about suicide is about wanting to end pain, not cause pain.
Right.
And we move on from that. So Craig's Table came out of all of that. It came out of my pain, my lack of knowledge, my determination to be a better person, and understand along the way that by lifting myself, I was actually finding a way to lift others. I get asked all the time, how do people find me? And to be honest, I really don't know. I'm just glad that they do. So once I started to research what workers' compensation was intended to be, the history of it actually goes back to Bismarck, when Bismarck really wrote the modern iteration of workers' compensation. Once you understood that it really was put in place to help people and to support them, you look at it and you go, that's not what we've got. The intention is to support people, is to help people, is to rebuild them, to be all they can be, not to do anything else, not to cause further harm. So I wrote the program, I wrote Craig's Table based solely on the intention of workers' compensation. My intention is to quite literally lift the world of the injured worker world out of obscurity and put them, center of their own being. I get to go to work every day with the most amazing people who have dreams and aspirations the same as everybody else does. And
they're injured and pain.
Yeah.
And they need someone to hear that.
Yeah. And most times this is how you know when you know it's really easy. When you say 3 magic words, I believe you. You don't even say anything else. I believe you. Because they're so used to having someone say, prove that. You prove you're injured. You prove that this happened at your workplace. And then they enter into an area of hostility where they don't speak the language. Because workers' compensation has its own jargon. They don't understand what's going on around them, the process that's going on around them, and they're dealing with a medical issue. They're in pain. They're a part of their body has been seriously damaged, and they're confused. So when I come along and I never say to them, well, tell me about your injury, because it's not that I don't want to know or don't need to know. It's just that I don't have to know. They tell me they sustained a workplace injury, and I believe them. And belief is probably the biggest power that we all have. If someone says, I believe you, it's a pretty good place to start a conversation.
It's a perfect place to start a conversation.
So
it honors the person for what they've gone through. You have challenged the status quo of medicine and science.
Actually, the science and the medicine, the holistic part of it all actually supports everything that I do. You read all the books, and you understand that what we're dealing with really is nothing short of just the human emotion and human psyche. I faced, and I face it every day. I face the fact that my body isn't working the way I would like it to work. But it's a body. That's all it is. And if I finish my life in a wheelchair, I will still be Rosemary. I won't be anybody else. I'll still be me. Once you accept that, and then you start to look for the positives around that, you can understand you can really take on any challenge, and accept that challenge as being worthy of your attention. Because I turn everything back to the person who I'm working with. Where is your attention? Where are you going? What do you need to get there? How determined are you to get there? Because it's quite easy to be a victim. It really is. It's very, very easy to sit and say, no, I'm too broken, I can't do anything. But in just over 70 days or something, if it goes ahead, the Olympics will be on, and so will the Paralympics. Every one of those Paralympians faces a challenge every day just to get out of bed. I know a Paralympian. She's one of my dearest friends. She's retired from sporting competition now. But if you were to try and get in her way, quite literally, you run the risk of being run over by her wheelchair. Because you have to just meet that challenge every day, and know that it's there to make you a better person. And you know, you just keep doing what has to be done.
That is pivotal for people to hear, is that you have to keep on going. You do have your down moments, and that is perfectly all right. But once that down moment is past, pick yourself up and you face that challenge.
Yeah.
And that's how you recover. I found it. You're doing it. Every doctor I saw, and of course you don't want to hear what I told them, but they said I would never recover, and I did. On my own. I did the unimaginable and remarkable. And it was a workman's comp case also. And I fought. You have to face the challenges, and you have to put that energy to face those challenges. And to have someone like you, Rosemary, to say, I believe you. Those are powerful words. I believe you.
If you can replace someone's lack of hope with a few drops of your own hope, and they see every day that you are doing something, and it can be as simple as you're getting up and you're being there with them. It gives them that ability to go, well, if I fall, I know whose hands I'm going to fall into, and she won't drop me. That really is the framework of everything. It's like, it really is. It's no different than a parent watching their wee ones, pull themselves up along the coffee table and holding their hands out, saying, walk to mummy, walk to daddy, because you know that little one is going to fall, but they trust you enough that you will pick them up and you'll dust them off and you'll let them go again until they.
Beautiful analogy.
Yeah. As the best thing I can do for them, for everyone that comes to Craig's table, is to hold them firm and then let them go. And just let them be who they came to this world to be. The workers' compensation system doesn't understand how to get out of somebody's way. I've worked out that quite literally, if I get in their way, all I'm going to do is impede their progress. It's kind of like, there's a bit of tough love in there at times. But I can honestly say, in almost probably in the last 20 plus years, there's only 5 people that I've actually walked away from. And I've worked with thousands of people. So to limit it to 5 people, and they really fought against everything. They enjoyed being broken. They enjoyed being a victim, or they enjoyed, they enjoyed the situation they were in, and it didn't matter what I did or said or what anybody else was offering. They just wanted to stay there. But I've never
stunned me, Rosemary, was something you said about yourself. You have not done any of the amazing, heartwarming, or shattering things, but simply took what happened to you and took on a huge challenge, building a better worker compensation process. when you say you have not done something remarkable, you have done more than remarkable. You changed lives that are destined, are desolate. Because no one cared. You cared.
This is probably the most selfish that I will ever acknowledge myself to be, and I can be selfish. We all can. But I think about what I put my family through, my friends through, and I know what that place is like. I can't allow anyone, if I can prevent it, I can't allow them to go down that path, because it is full of pitfalls and traps and you name it. It's not a nice place to be.
It's traumatic.
So, yeah, it's the worst torment. It's the worst degradation. It's dark. It's horrible. It's very, very lonely. So when you know that you can do something that prevents that, then you kind of just get on and do it. And then other people tell you
you're so easy. You give your life to this.
Oh, I walk away, seriously walk away, probably 2 or 3 times a year. Because you know how much more effort something else is going to need, and you have to say, that's it, no, I can't do any more. And then the phone rings, and then you know you're back doing it again.
You change things up. You change the word problem to challenge.
Yes.
That changes the brain to see opportunity.
Yeah, it does.
And then you say, I believe you. Again, you open the doors of hope, and genuine hope, tangible hope.
Oh, you know, if somebody had told me right at the very start of all of this that this was going to be the person I was going to grow into, and you grow into being who you are, simply by taking on those challenges, by understanding it's never going to be easy, but it's going to be one hell of a ride, and it's going to be interesting, and you'll find stuff about yourself that you never knew existed. And I mean, I look at I thought I had a pretty interesting life pre-injury, and I look at the plans that were in place, and they were very small compared to what I do now. So small is good, but I don't know that I can stop now. I think as the Lord is calling me home, I'll be saying to him, look, sorry, mate, I'm a bit busy today, come back tomorrow. And just you just have to keep going to find out where next, and when next, and why next, and how next. And as I said before, I do work with the most amazing group of people who just...
Yes, I saw that.
They just keep going. You know,
you created a permanent memorial for the deceased workers.
Yeah.
And a city councilor, Priscilla Corbell, was moved by the fact of the lack of space. And you plant trees. And
Yep.
do the trees symbolize a person that has
Yes, they do.
died on the job?
Yeah.
Furthermore, you tend to this memorial every single Monday.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to give you sainthood.
No, it's again, it's just what needed to be done, to ease the burden of someone, of a mum. And how it all started was when International Day of Mourning arrived in Australia, back in the late 1990s, and it was very political. I'm not a political person. I really don't care what branch of politics you come from. But when International Day of Mourning arrived here in Australia, it was a very political movement. And it didn't help the grief of anyone.
It does.
Yeah, it didn't ease their pain, and the association
Well,
funded
grief is something everybody has in common.
Yeah,
Every human, every animal, even plants, you have grief and sorrow. We all have that in common.
Yeah. So, a young mum approached me one day and said that she wanted to take the children to visit their father in the cemetery, but every time they went there, the children were upset, and she needed a place that she could go where the children would be happy to play and so forth. So out of that came the Deceased Workers Memorial Forest. And so, yeah, every one of those trees that is in the forest has a family, has a person that tree represents. There have been weddings that in the forest. There's been graduation ceremonies in the forest. It's been birthday parties. There's all sorts of things. Every family celebration you can imagine is held there.
Could you tell us where this is located? So people.
It's in Adelaide. Yeah. And if you Google Deceased Workers Memorial Forest, you'll find it it's in Adelaide, and it's a beautiful piece of the parklands, and it's filled with life. It's teeming with life, and there are trees there. Yeah, there are. I mean, every one of the trees is special in its own way. But there are two trees there that are very connected to me. One of them is the tree that I planted for my brother, and then there's the tree that we planted for Craig. So, and I talk to them just the same as I would talk to them if they were alive. You know, if my brother was there and if Craig was there, that's how I talk to the trees. And I touch every one of them. I tell them they're looking fantastic. They're growing well, and it's a place of solace for me. People tell me that they know if I go missing, they know exactly where to start looking. And you'll find me sitting in front of my brother's tree, having a conversation. So. And I've gone, visited at other times, and there's been other, families sitting around a tree, and you go, yeah, I know why you're there. I don't know who you are, but I know why you're there. It's a special place.
Obviously it is, and you have given so many families a place to grieve and also come together and have hope.
Yeah,
and move on.
Yeah.
Most of all, be able to go on, but still have that memorial.
And you need as humans, and as strong as we all are, we can be incredibly fragile as well. So to give someone that place of peace where people are fragile, under that strength, that exterior, they still need that support. They need a place to be where they can see life around them, and they know that they can grow from that. It takes time. But when someone else approached me with their grief, their loss, I understood that. They didn't have to talk about it in depth, because I'd been there, and I still am there. You know, I miss my brother every day. And so, you know, when you have that experience, you can put yourself into someone else's shoes and say, let me carry you for a while. It'll be all right. We will get through this. Because it is a we thing. We need to be with our people. You know, we may call ourselves sophisticated and all the rest, but we really still are a herd animal. We need our fellow people around us just to get through the day. I don't know if I had actually, because I've never actually been to university. I don't have a degree in anything. The funny part about that is I've actually lectured at universities.
You don't need to have a degree to be a great human being. There are no degrees for that.
But it's the dream was, way back when I was in high school, was to go to university, become a teacher of sciences, because the world of science just fascinates me. I have a bookshelf of physics, quantum physics, quantum mechanics, anything that is science based, I will read it, just because it fills me with joy. But it stimulates the mind to keep going, to find out, you know, what else can I do.
Rosemary, I have to say this. There are fantastic, unparalleled people in this world. Rosemary is a great example of one incredible. You are one incredible lady. You really are. And I hope you will come back and talk on our show again, because you have so much to share. Unfortunately, we have limited time each podcast, but you are one fantastic, incredible lady with a huge beating heart, that you've given so much from your own experience that you understand and say, I believe you, and allow people to be themselves in pain, injured, and move forward.